Hey, YouTube fam, we're live and we got the trunk done, but now we have to do the final bits of wiring for the trunk. You guys can see, all cleaned up, all hidden, ready to go. The next job here is to get this wiring done. So we gotta pull this false board out. You guys can see all that. And right here is the problem. Well, not really a problem, but I gotta make it better than what it was. So I already cut all the wiring for the air compressor. So you got power and ground, pretty straightforward. I had to cut the wiring for the switch on the manifold. And then I had to cut the relay for the manifold. And the reason for this, because the wiring was all like, it wasn't straight and clean. I kind of want to clean it up because when we start putting when we put the false floor, I mean the mounting board in here and the wheel well, we got to make sure all the wiring is tight and fitting where it needs to fit. So when we bolt everything in place, it's stationary. We also got to make sure there's room for the water traps, the extra air line for the manifold, and pretty much anything else that has to get in its way, right? So we're not going to be putting an air tank on the bottom. We're actually going to have the air tank sitting on top, mounted on the main false floor, and we still have a decent amount of trunk left, instead of having no trunk before. So my setup before was the entirety of the trunk was a 4 sub box. I had a 410s in the back. I used the entire trunk. I'm not complaining. I loved it. But I kind of want to have an accessible trunk now, since I will be daily in this car a lot. So that's why I built the sub box on the back seat. Right there. So the back seat is now just a sub box, amps and wiring all done. Now we have to use this frame as an actual trunk. Now, one of the things that I did when I did this, I raised it, like 6 inches. And the reason for the raise of 6 inches, the biggest reason why I went this high, you can fit things underneath here. You can throw a piece of wood. One thing that I did before, you can throw literally a piece of wood right here, and you can make this a toolbox if you need to carry anything with you. Same goes for here, left and right. You can build a little tray right here and make this like into an accessory tray. Especially if you're going to be driving cross country or just driving long distances, you want to have a little toolkit in here. There's space for all of that, you know. Originally, I didn't have that because it was all like right here. The air tank was as big as this entire floor. I used the 5-gallon airlift tank, and it's massive. Like it's a big tank. It takes up this entire wheel well. That is no longer the problem. We are now using a standard tank that's going to sit on top, and that's why I kind of built the box back this way. And then everything else over here. Hey, what's going on? Easy Deezy. What's up? What's up? Is there comments? I don't know if there's any comments. Let's see. I don't know. It's a little different on here. There we go. All messages. There we go. Hi. What's going on? So again, that is kind of the reason why we're going this route. So now we're going to fix some wiring, and then we're going to move forward. Well, here comes the rain. I don't know if you guys can hear that. All right, so the relay here has these 2 wires. So main power and accessory power for the relay. You'll see here, there's a main power for this guy. So this guy is what comes from the battery. This guy is what feeds to the actual actual, jeez, the air pump. Okay. If you look over here, you're going to have this red wire. This is why a lot of people were confused when they were doing these, because there was a lot of matching colors. This red wire that comes from the battery goes to the pink wire, not the red wire. So you put those two together, and then the red wire that comes out of the relay goes to your air compressor. The black wire that comes out of the main wire here. So there's a black one. Where are you? Right here. Yep. Man, this black one right here goes to the ground of the air compressor, just like that. It's very simple. This one's nothing special. And then we have, where is it? Here we go. So there's two gray wires. There's a trigger wire in here. This gray wire, there's two of them. There's one that has already a spade connector. You ignore that. That one doesn't matter. The one that doesn't have the spade connector is a solid wire. It's actually wired to the relay. It's a ground trigger. Now the issue is on my harness, or my manifold, actually the airlift manifold, the car caught fire a long time ago. I don't know if you guys remember that, like 10 plus years ago. It's like about 10 years now. The car caught fire. The manifold that's in here, the wiring and the V2 manifold that's in this car is the same manifold from that fire, that Mark IV that caught fire. It actually survived. So it's a little piece of history on this car. So I'm very happy to have it. And what happened was the manifold got a little bit of water in it and shorted out the ground trigger. So what I ended up doing is that you can tee off a little ground, a little wire off of here, tee it off onto a ground with a switch, and you can turn it on and off. What we're gonna do instead, we're gonna run that same switch, okay? That same ground switch, we're gonna ground it, but to a pressure switch. And it's a PSI switch. You put that on your tank, literally when it hits a certain PSI, it just closes the loop. And what's gonna happen, it's just gonna ground itself and it's gonna turn off the air compressor. That simple. Very, very simple wiring. This is actually the old school way of turning on and off air compressors. So if you want to do bags, and you want to do it the old school way, that's one way of doing it. So what I'm going to do here is clean up the wiring. That's my main goal for this entire project right here. So we're going to electrical tape this till we get to this pink wire right here. I was going to run a sleeve to this, and I'm still considering it because I like the way these sleeves work, but I have to do like a half and half sleeve if I do it. That's why I've been kind of not wanting to do a sleeve. So what we want to do is, now that we electrical tape this like a little chunk, you'll see here I still have all this wiring left over. Now there's a pink wire in this loom. It goes to this relay. This plugs into the manifold. This one turns on and off our pump. We can split the two and keep them next to each other, which is probably what I'm going to do because I really don't want this wire to be super long. So what I'm going to do is kind of give them some length here, but not too much. Right here. This is just going to plug into the manifold, and this is just going to chill. It's just a relay, nothing special. And you're just going to bolt it on to the platform, just out of the way. And the way that we're going to do that to keep it clean, like again, we're going to keep this wiring as clean as we can, because we want to keep this one. This ground wire is going to go separate, because now it's its own entity. We're going to electrical tape this bad boy right here. And we're just going to get it nice and not too snug. We're going to go forward. We're just going to wrap it around. Now the reason why we want electrical tape, again, I wish I could put an electrical sleeve on here because I would way prefer a sleeve versus the tape. But I have to do tape, and mainly because we want to protect it. Even though it's inside a wheel well, you can still get moisture, you can still get condensation, and we want to keep wire from rotting as much as we can. You'll see here the pink wire that's chilling here. We're going to let that stick out while we keep running the wire over, the electrical tape over. Now, one thing you want to do when you electrical tape something, put it like around a 25 to a 35 degree angle. You use more tape, you use less tape this way. Just so you guys know. And it's not as tight, which is kind of the thing you want to do because you want to keep this still very flexible. When you get to a Y in the road or a fork on the road, don't tape it in, like don't tape it shut. Get into the seam, hoop it over, wrap it around one more time, and then finish it off with a straight pull, yank, and you're done. This is kind of the thought process behind it. As you can see, it's just a nice clean loom now here. We have our ground that's separate. This is our accessory wire to turn on and off the relay. This little trigger guy, he's a secondary relay trigger. This guy, if you're going to run a second relay or a second pump, you need this wire here. This will trigger a secondary pump. There's other ways around it though. You don't have to have this, but if you have a fully working harness, this is the smarter way of doing it. But I don't have a fully working harness anymore due to the fact that my manifold is damaged. So what we can do is that you just do a double air switch, not double air switch, a double ground to the same switch, and then you do a second relay to that ground switch. It makes it really easy. I know it sounds like, oh man, this guy's talking crazy, like all this other stuff. You'll understand when you get to that point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loop it, and I'm going to run just a little bit of tape around it. And the reason being is because maybe it does work and I might want to use it later. So I'm just going to wrap it around, one loop around like this, and we're going to call it done. Okay? That's it. Next step is our ground wire, our relay. Remember, I either want this short or long. This is where you make the decision if you're going to cut your relay again. And I'm thinking, really highly thinking, I'm going to cut my relay even shorter right down here. We're going to solder it, and then we're going to heat shrink it, and then we're going to electrical tape it. I prefer it really short. I don't really want a really long relay to like just run around. It's just more wiring that you don't need. You guys have any comments while I'm working? I'm curious about. We got actually a decent amount of people tonight. Usually I have like 2 or 3 people join in on the lives. So I'm very curious what's going on, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I have it set to all messages, so there's no filter. Yeah, all messages are there. So yeah, if you guys have any comments, please comment. I'm here to talk. Any questions on the new stereo system that we just put in? Let's see. See, this is why I double check. Now I remember why I don't cut this relay any shorter. The power wire from the car is right here. So this is as far as I can't cut it any shorter. So I gotta solder this one in. This is why I gotta double check everything I do. So I'm going to solder this one in. And then the main power wire goes to that one, and then the ground wire goes to this one, and then we're done. I'm going to tidy up this wire, these wires right here. Can we get a run through of the new stereo? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Let me get a little bit of wiring done here, but yeah. Oh yeah. I'll give you a full run through right now. Hell yeah. Thanks for asking. What's going on, banging? Let me just get this wired up. Not wired, but let me just get it tidy since I started the loom here. Yeah, I'll give you a full walkthrough. We on ECS? Yeah, that sounds about right. They charge you a fortune on shipping, and then they take forever to get there. All right, so we're going to stop this right here because I'm getting too close to those wires, and I need to be able to have room to work while I'm soldering. All right. So this, we just got it tidy. All we want to do is make it tidy, so that way when we get it all in here, we can manipulate it and bolt it where it needs to go, and then it's out of the way. But if you guys see here, it's already super clean and like functional. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, so as for Easy Deezy, he's asking about a run through of the stereo system. So let's run through it. Let me get you guys over here. I'm trying to get you guys in a good position. But this camera's like massive. This tripod is really cool, like big. All right, let me put on the beauty boards first. But you guys can see there's two 800 watt amps, 2 ohm 800 watt amps. This is my 400 watt 4-channel, so this gives 100 watts per channel at 2 ohms. This is a Kicker KX series, so it's a KX 850, I believe. So it's a 5-channel amp. I didn't use the 5th channel. It's for a sub. I prefer the sound processing on this is really good, but I'm still waiting on my sound processor. Okay. Always, buddy, always. These two are actually called, they're Pioneer GM8609s, I believe. They'll push 1,000 watts at 1 ohm, but 800 watts at 2 ohms, just so you know. Easy Deezy, I didn't need a second battery because I use a 100-hour amp-hour battery, and I also have a 200 amp alternator for this entire setup. I actually had my factory alternator modified. I had it recoiled for higher ampage. You can actually do that. There's companies out there that can actually recoil your alternator for higher output. So you can get a VR6. Let me give you some information. You can get a VR6 alternator, which gives you 125 amps of power versus your standard 90 amp factory like Mark IV 1.8T alternator. So that's number one as your first upgrade if you're going to upgrade your stereo system. If you want to go heavy output power, then you definitely want to upgrade your amp. So I mean alternator to a higher ampage. Stinger makes a universal one that you can buy, but it's very expensive. It's about like $400 or $500 for that. Or I ended up getting my alternator recoiled. Now recoiling it. Once you recoil it, I got 200 amps. It's just how much money you want to spend to get the ampage up there. Got 200 amps of power. Perfect. Now that's done. The next step is, if you do the VR6 one, you do have to swap the pulley over, just so you know. You can't use the VR6 pulley. It has to be the Mark IV 1.8T pulley, okay? Just pointer on that, so you know. So we did that. After we did that, I upgraded everything on the car to 0 gauge. So the alternator wire is 0 gauge wire. So I'll walk you through that. Let me take you over there. Can I flip the camera over? Yes, I can. All right. So you'll see here, this is my alternator wire, and this is 0 gauge. This is my amp wire right here, and that is also 0 gauge. All right, if we come over here, I have, and you can't even see it, 3 0 gauge wires right here on the left hand side, and they fit perfect. Let me see if I can clean this camera. Okay, there we go. And there's 3 0 gauge wires underneath this dash right here. One that comes in from the trunk, and then the 2 that come in from the engine bay. Oh, and then they go into the PincheAls garage new 3D printed fuse block holder that goes underneath the dash. No, I can't. This is screwed in. I don't want to take it off. So that goes there. Then we come over here to the engine bay. Take this carpet off. You'll see here, there's 2 massive 0 gauge wires. One for the alternator, one for the starter. You have to make sure you upgrade your starter wire because you're going from here all the way down into your dashboard. That's where my starter wire goes underneath my dashboard, and that's where it gets power from the factory fuse block. Okay, there's that. My RCAs, my remote, my accessory wire that turns on the amps are all ran on the passenger side. So all that wiring's over there. Over here on the driver's side, I have the 0 gauge, and I also have the airlift management wires here, also the airlift power wires over here. Now, pro tip, this is a legit pro tip for you guys. If you ever run a stereo system, make sure you separate the RCAs from your power wire. So your RCAs should run on the opposite side of your power wire. So if you run power on this side, the RCAs have to be ran on that side. It will drop the amount of noise that you get from the alternator. So you get what they call alternator whine. All right. There's my box. Let me take this piece of wood off here. You can see the box is all done. It's being held right now just by the seat brackets here. We still have to figure out how to make this stay and not have it fall over when I'm braking and driving. We're using a Kenwood, what is it called? DDX6706S deck. I got this deck. This deck is pretty old. It's actually almost like 7-8 years old. This deck is one of the very few decks nowadays that you can buy at a retail store that actually has a powered pre-out. If you're going to run a high-end system, powered pre-outs are a big, big plus for any radio. Nowadays, everybody's buying these cheap Amazon radios, and they're just those Android ones, and they just sound like hot garbage, but it's up to you guys on how you guys want to roll, right? But that is a powered pre-out. It's a 6-channel out, so it's got front, rear, and sub pre-outs on the back of the deck. Microphone. It has actually a tuning option. It has a microphone tuner, so you can tune the audio inside of here. Plus, it has Bluetooth and all that jazz. No GPS, no Android Auto, none of that. I made sure I didn't have those features because I don't care for those when I'm driving, especially this car. Next stop is the trunk. Let me close up the trunk so you guys can see. Let's see what it looks like once it's done. I built this trunk cover today. That goes there. And this one I'm really annoyed with because I got it almost perfect, and then the problem is it didn't have enough. The carpet gave me an issue. But there's the trunk right there. The carpet was too thick on the seams right here, and it pushed the wood too far this way, and now this won't go flat anymore. I'm so annoyed because before that it worked perfectly. The carpet went all the way down and it kept this and it made it super flat, and now it won't go flat. And I'm really annoyed by all that because I just cut this dang wood and I carpeted it because it fit perfect before I carpeted it. So annoyed. Nice, Daniel. I want to hear that. So, one thing I will tell people about my stereo system that's very different than most average stereo systems. See those subs over there? They're very flat and flush, right? They don't have a giant rubber surround. These are not SPL, okay? In other words, they're not meant to be loud. No, this will not move when I stop. Not at all. The subs are not for being loud. They're for being deep and accurate. On top of that, I'm thinking about it. I'm not 100% sure yet. But the box is really far away from the floor. It's like probably 8 inches, maybe 10 inches away from the actual floor. So I would have to like run a bunch of wood to go get to that. So I don't think I can do that option. But these subs, even though they're loud, they don't get as loud as most, like say 800-watt subs can. These are more accurate. These have very deep bass that you feel versus here. And when you listen to music, you feel it and you listen to it. It's really nice sounding. It's one of the best sounding systems I've built in a long time. Threaded rod and some sealant. Is the camera flipped? No, the car's not right-hand drive. It's a standard left-hand drive car. I wish it was right-hand drive. That'd be dope. I think it's just the way it's sending the video to you guys. Yeah, no. But what's coming next week is my harness bar, my air tank, because an air tank's going to go right here. I'm going to be putting my air tank right here for my bags. I might run hard lines. I'm not 100% sure. I really don't care for them. Oh, to the frame of the car. No, I can't do that because it's going to hit the gas tank. Nah, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I don't want to do that because that's it's going to hit the gas tank. I don't know, I'll have to figure out maybe notch this piece of wood here and then recarpet it. I don't know. So originally the air tank was sitting underneath here. I don't want that anymore in here. And let me explain why. So the original setup that I had in here, I had my air tank right here, my battery, and then my air compressor sat in the wheel well over here on the left in the little plastic cover. I want my air tank on top. Okay? The battery is going to sit right here like it was originally. I'm going to put my 2 air compressors right here, left and right. The manifold to the air compressors right here in the middle. All the wiring and all the whatnot's going to sit right there. But I want to add my new water traps. Okay? I want to add new water traps. And since we have drains here, like these holes, the floor pan holes. Let me get you guys closer so you guys can see what I mean. There you go. These holes right here we're going to add the water traps and drain right there. So that's kind of the goal on this floor. Now, another reason, because I drive this car a lot, I'm going to make this spot right here a toolbox. It's going to have all the necessary tools for long road trips. Right here, nothing. It's just a big open space. No big deal. But here, I'm going to build a wood box and make this into a cool little, yeah, exactly, air water separators. That's correct. They're also known as water traps. That's another term for them. They pretty much, when the tank, when the air compressors suck air water in, they separate the air and the water, and they haven't. The ones that I got have an electronic dump. So what they'll do is that when the valve inside there reaches a certain water level, it'll trigger a pressurized dump, and we have to dump it to the ground right here on these ports. So that's got to make sure those separators dump out of the car and not in the car, making a mess. So yeah, that's kind of like the whole build behind this this trunk, is how I'm going to do that. More function, less form. A built-in toolbox here. I'm going to put a whole tool set in here. I'm probably actually going to carpet this entire frame, build the box, and make a really nice, pretty box with like foam inserts, and make all my tools all like in a foam like box. I don't know. I have a thought. I was also thinking about getting those those waterproof like armor boxes, and maybe finding one that fits this dimension really closely, or find one that's actually as close as this, and then use that box as a toolbox I can yank out of here. I don't know. But when I travel far, I'm going to bring the trailer with me, which will have my spare tire in it. So I don't have to worry about a spare tire in here. So I'm not concerned for that. When people are like, oh, where's your spare tire? Don't worry. It's going to be here. It just travels with me with my trailer. I always bring a spare tire with me if I travel far. All right, back to wiring. Hopefully the stereo system made sense. Hopefully everything else made sense. I tend to always plan very far ahead for my builds. That's actually a really good idea. A little solenoid, right when it loses power, it just opens the tank. That's not actually, I really like that idea. Huh. Solenoids are dirt cheap too. They stay on with power, and the moment you turn off the power, they just dump the tank. Now, there's a problem with that. Even though with 2 compressors, and it's going to be like a 2.5 gallon tank, maybe a 3 gallon tank, I really don't want to hear my compressors on every single time I turn on the car. So I don't know 100% if I like that idea. Again, it's a good idea, but not a bad. You gotta understand, every time I start up, this car has a rough start because it's cammed and it's built. So this thing does not turn on first start. It takes a couple starts to turn this car on. It also runs on like 95, 97 octane, which is not easy to get going. So every time I turn on the car, it's going to be brrr, dump, brrr, dump. Like, I don't know. I like the idea. Or maybe I can do a manual solenoid, like have it always on when I'm and just have a switch to dump it. You know what I mean? Like a little trigger switch, a little toggle up in the dash, and be like, all right, I'm gonna dump my tank, and just turn on this toggle and be like, psh. That I think would be a better option versus it when I turn on and off the car. I like that. I like your primary idea, but I'd rather have the ability to do it myself. I'm really good with maintenance, so I think I might go with that idea. Thank you. I like that idea. All right. Oh man, this is why I love the lives. You know what I mean? We brainstorm while we work. Bro, that is such a good idea. All right. So we have to solder. Doesn't have to dump a whole tank. It just dumps from the bottom for 5 seconds, and when you shut it down. Exactly. I don't have to dump. Exactly. I just have to. I personally think I just have a toggle switch, and then I'll just do that. I gotta get some heat shrink, some solder, and this going. Oh no! I think I wasted all my solder this week. No, I don't think I did. Hold on. Eee! I'm panicking. I think I used all my solder. I might have some in my drawer. Oh, I do have some. Ah, yeah. Man, I was panicking. I get my butane, my soldering iron, my solder. I get my heat shrink. All right, see, maybe 101 doesn't have to dump. No, I found it. I found all my soldering iron. No, I didn't panic, man. So I gotta cut my heat shrink. Get my ground wire here. Just down here and get it far away from the copper. Because copper is a good heat conductor. It likes to retain heat. And when that happens, well, let's just say you can heat shrink your heat shrink without heating your shrink up. So what I like to do, because so the copper wire they provide from Airlift is solid core wire, so it's very hard to bend. Your traditional string core or string copper is very flexible. So what I do is I twist the stringy one around this guy. And then we're gonna lay our little bead of soldering iron, solder. And then we're also gonna fill up our butane soldering iron here. All right. Would you pan into the can? Just would like to see. What do you want me to pan into? I'm sorry. The can. The can of what? This right here? Oh, the cab. Yeah. I'll show you the inside of the car. Let me take the carpet off here. You see, the subs are all put in the trunk. Headliner's next on my to-do list. You see, it's all droopy and sad. We're taking all this out and we're gonna redo the entire headliner next after we're done with the trunk. So, phew! Why are you fewing? It's not a right-hand drive car. I mean, it's not a right-hand drive car. It's a Mark IV left-hand drive. So if you're thinking about that, don't worry about it. It's good. All right. Well, thank you. going to turn on our there we go. So this is the butane soldering iron. A really good friend of mine gave me one of these, and I freaking love this thing. It's not cheap. It's a snap-on one, but man, does this thing get smoking hot. I love it, and I thank my friend for giving me this. So we're waiting for this guy to heat up. While it's heating up, we got our little wire here. We're gonna get a little bit of solder. Now I don't have my helping hands to do this right. So my goal here is just to put some solder on this and make sure it just stays on. We gotta do a test melt. Oh, we gotta scrape off the ends. I got plastic all over it. I use this to plastic weld. So yeah. And make sure you remove all the old plastic. If not, this will not melt solder. All right. Let's confirm. Not hot enough yet. Oh, there we go. Now we're hot enough. Cool. All right. Now that it's hot enough, we're going to touch the copper here. And we want to put pressure on it with the other hand. Get the copper pretty hot. Pretty smoking hot. You should feel it on your finger through the plastic. And then what you want to do is melt a little bit of solder on top. As the solder melts, if the copper gets hot enough, it will absorb the solder. There we go. This is what we want. We want the solder to get into the copper. Now, I don't have any flux or anything like that to help it stick to this better. I mean, we're just using it just straight solder iron and just plain solder. So, but getting it hot enough, especially if you have a good workspace to do it in, doesn't take much. I'll show you guys in just a little bit. There we go. Let me show you guys up close and personal solder. Yeah, no flux. But again, you get it hot enough, you should be fine. Here we go. And that's what we want. You'll notice it's all inside of it. That's what we want as for a good solder. Now, if you guys are, perfectionists and you really want all that copper to get pretty much solder in it, keep adding more solder until, you know, you can't pull it apart. But if I can't pull it apart, it ain't going anywhere. You know, Boney 982. Yes, I am doing bags. That is correct. So now that that's all soldered up, we're going to run our heat shrink tube. And we're going to cover up the stuff. Now the thing I didn't make a good decision on is what size thickness heat shrink to use. And I think this heat shrink is just a bit too small. Ay, ay, ay. Come on. Please don't do this to me. Not tonight. Yeah. That sucks. Now, the good news is that this doesn't sit outside and doesn't worry about heat. How do we say? Heat cycling, where it gets really hot, really cold, really hot. I mean, we can use electrical tape. I don't want to use electrical tape. Oh, man. I might have to cut this and redo it again. You know, I'm not a fan of doing electrical tape, but when you make a mistake like this, you want to fix your problem. What's up? What's up? Aubrey Bush? Yeah, you can try. I'm going to keep trying. See if I can slide it over, but I don't think it's going to let me. Yeah. Well, good thing is you always give yourself a lot of slack, because if you make a mistake, you can fix it. So I cut it. I'm going to redo it. Aw, thank you. I'm not a master. I'm just a really good hobbyist. This is what I like doing. All right, got this. Gonna get my wire strippers. All right. Watch the. Someone asked me about my defroster vent covers the other day. Ooh. You still got my PincheAls garage vents. I like that. They're coming back, and they're going to become carbon fiber. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're making some of them in carbon fiber soon. So be ready for that. I can show you some of the stuff I made out of carbon fiber. Give me a second here. So that's funny. This right here is the new PET CF. So it's PET plastic mixed with carbon fiber plastic, carbon fiber. You notice it's very hard to see the 3D printed lines on this material. Very, very difficult. This is made out of ASA plastic. This is super hard plastic. Also, this is super heat resistant plastic. And you'll notice, you can see the lines on that. See that? You can tell it's 3D printed. Same exact vent, but with the carbon fiber instead. And look at this. You can't see any lines almost. It's such a pretty piece. Look at that. This is my favorite plastic to print with now. No problem, man. Thank you for joining in on the live. I'm glad I've been able to help you. Now you can watch Help Me by making sure you sub, you like, you make the notification bell on, and share. Because we got 2 cars to give away, possibly 3. We got our Jetta VR6 Turbo we're giving away, our Corrado 1.8T, okay? And then we got possibly a 1.8T Mark IV wagon. I haven't confirmed on that one. So thank you for tuning in anyways, even if you don't get a free car or anything. Enjoy the knowledge and enjoy the entertainment. All right, back to soldering, because I got to resolder this dang thing. Because I made a boo-boo, made a boo-boo. There we go. All right. Soldering iron is now officially on, heating up. Until that gets nice and warm. Bro, 3D printing has gotten ridiculously better. I don't know what you're waiting for now. You know what I mean? It has gotten so much better than it ever has been in such a short amount of time. I recommend you just start getting to 3D printing now. It is so fun. I make so much dumb stuff. I love it. And I make a lot of useful things. You guys want to see some of the useful stuff I made while this soldering iron gets nice and hot? You want to see some of the stuff? Just comment right there up, and then I'll show you. All right. So this is much, much bigger. All right, I'll show you some of the stuff I made. Soldering iron is getting really nice and hot, so here we go. Turn the camera around. Everything on that pegboard is 3D printed that's holding all my tools. Everything. There's not a single piece of plastic on there that's not purchased. I mean, that was purchased. All of it was 3D printed. All of it. You see over here, I just started this board. This is my new board that I just have. And I just got my OBD2 cable there, my light, my Dremel, and then I just made spool holders for all my wiring. So yeah, 3D printed another one. Yeah, right? But yeah, I'm still working on more and more stuff as I work on my toolbox. My toolbox has never been so empty, which is kind of weird. Thank you, thank you. I've been working hard on it. All right, back to soldering. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, metal 3D printing is becoming huge, like super huge. And 3D printing is super easy. Believe it or not, it's one of the easiest things I've ever learned in in my entire life. I gotta strip this a little bit more. Gotta hurry because I don't want to use up all my butane. That's the only downside with butane tools. You run out of butane and it's no longer functional. All right. The good thing is it gets really hot, pretty smoking fast. So I'm not complaining. So again, just put your soldering iron on the wire. Hell yeah, dude. That means the new stuff that's out makes it even so much better. Hi, how's it going? Hey, welcome to the live. All right, so now we're here. We're soldering. So what we want to do is as we get the copper really hot, it's going to absorb the solder for you, okay? All you got to do is get the copper really, really hot. That's it. And the iron will do the rest of the work for you. What you want to look for is that the hey Michael, yeah, from Africa, I believe. All right, turn off my soldering iron. That's now done. When soldering, is better to use thick gauge solder or thin gauge. The thin stuff kept bending while I apply it. Okay. Thicker solder wire obviously is better to manipulate because it's stiffer and it doesn't manipulate much. But sometimes you have too much solder and that becomes a problem. And you get these little BBs that go everywhere. So what happens with large like rolls of solder or like this thick solder that I'm using right here, this is really thick solder. The problem with this is that you get too much solder. That's why they make different gauges of solder for different applications. Every gauge solder has its application. So thinner solder is better for thinner wires or working on PCB boards. Stuff that needs a little bit of solder at a time, not a ton. Mine's application is a little different. I got this big old thick wire that needs a lot of solder. So a thicker solder is better. But you have to get the copper super hot before you apply. Because if not, it's just going to roll everywhere except on the copper. Now that's done, we're going to run the solder, the shrink like I was supposed to, and make sure it fits because I got thicker or bigger, bigger heat shrink tube. There we go. Jeez, I can't remember things. Now I don't have my lighter. My lighter kind of exited the chat. So we're going to use my torch. So what's really cool about this, you'll notice there's a little flame that comes out of there. See that? That's fire. So I can heat shrink with this. with hot. That doesn't work really good. That's a horrible heat shrinking tool. Let me go get my torch. I lost my lighter went out of butane. I just don't like using this because this gets really hot too fast. Not really a light controlled flame, you know what I mean? All right, that worked better. All right, that one's done. Any tips? So, soldering, honestly, depending on what you're trying to solder, personally, if it's thick ass copper like this, send the temperature to the moon. But when you're starting to work with PCBs or any other like small things, you want to learn how to control the temperature. I personally would recommend, you know, maybe some type of guide on soldering. I don't work with small PCBs anymore. It's been such a long time that I cannot recommend anything because it's been like 20 years I think now since I touched a PCB board and soldered it. I used to solder cell phones a long time ago, but I don't do that anymore. And we used precision soldering irons, and those were foot controlled, so it controlled the temperature with your feet, and it had a max temp. You had a dial to set it at, and then you would put your foot on it, and it would just increase. And depending on how much pedal, you can go. You know, obviously it's pedal to the metal and drop it down to max, or you can gradually get into it. That way you don't melt the little PCB boards. It all depends. So personally, I don't have any good recommendations. However, I am going to be soldering some small wire, so you can probably see how that works. So this power wire, so this red one right here, goes to the red one on the relay. All right. This is the trigger wire. This is the wire that gets turned on when this gray wire gets triggered. Just heads up. So we're going to strip this one. And same exact process as before. Just going to strip it and go to the next one. I'm trying to finish this up for tomorrow because I got a lot of work tomorrow. I got to put bags on this car. I'm going to have my old tank in here for the time being until the new tank arrives. Once the new tank arrives, then we will have to not worry about that. Because then I'll just use a nice, pretty new tank. And remember, we're going to grab this and we're going to twist. Twist and make it as tight as you can when you do this. The tighter, the better. What's your favorite gen golf if I had to choose? Ooh, Aubrey Bush. Why make my life difficult? Okay, so I'll tell you based on my favorites, all right? If I had a choice on which generation Golf, it would go in this very specific order, okay? Obviously, the Mark IV will be the number one on my list. Mark IV, number one. Mark II, number two. Mark I will be number three. And Mark, what is it? 7 would be number 4. And for the last but not least, Mark 3. And that's because specific order. So Mark 4, 2, 1, 7, and then 3 on the bottom of the generations. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, why Mark 7? Why did you skip Mark 5 and Mark 6? Mark 5 was hideous. Mark 6, they got it right, but they got rid of a lot of the lines and curves, and it looked like a minivan. Mark 7, they started giving it more aggressive, sportier look, and I enjoy that. And I don't care about the rest of any other car. But if I had to choose, it'd be a Mark 4 GTI, like I drive right now. Main reason why, it is one of the best platforms to swap anything into it. If you want a VR6, a 1.8T, you want a freaking bigger VR6, it's easy to swap into these cars. If you want like the 3.6 liter, if you want to go the 5-cylinder turbo or just a 5-cylinder, they swap into these cars super easy. It's kind of like the universal platform. Mark II is the exact same like style of swap as a Mark IV. Everything bolts right in. I don't know why it's that easy on the Mark II and the Mark IV. I just prefer the aesthetics of the 4 and the 2. The 2 with double rounds or quad rounds up in front and the big bumper just screams sexy. Same with the Mark IV. You put a Mark IV with like the 20th anniversary kit. This is my favorite kit. The R32 kit, all day. The other last kit that I really like, but it's super hard to find. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's called Character. I don't know what it's called. It's one of my second favorite kits on a Mark IV all day. A nice little wing on it, and just keep it simple. Bagged, low 18s, 17s. That's as big as I would get on wheels, small as wheels, and that's it. The Mark III, I love the looks of the Mark III, but I despise the Mark III wiring. The wiring on the Mark III is a massive headache to work with. It's actually harder than a Mark IV's wiring, just FYI, because it's a transition car. So the Mark II and Mark IV are their own cars. They are pretty much, they have their own wiring and their own, everything is like basic. Mark III had a Mark II and a Mark IV generation built into it because it was a transition vehicle to like, again, the late 90s to 2000s. So a lot of modernization was put into them, and it was the first of its time. So a lot of shit goes wrong. And when I mean a lot, the wiring in those cars are awful. You give me a Mark IV, beat the crap with the wiring done as poorly as possible, I can figure it out and get it back up and running. Mark III? Hell no. I have a couple friends though that fucking love Mark IIIs and they look dope. If I can find an unmolested Mark III, I'd buy it. Hell yeah, I'd buy it. And I'd save it. I'd probably give it away. Give it to someone who wants it. Because that's what this channel is about, is to save all the Mark IVs. I'm going to save as many Mark IVs as I can. I just got to finish my Mark IV. I got to save my Mark IV before I save anybody else's. I should make that, yeah, the key is unmolested, right? Oh no. See, this is why you don't... this is what I hate. Now I got blobs of solder all over here. There we go. Now it's in the dang copper. This is why I just sometimes solder just it's very, very easy to work with. And sometimes it's just such a pain in the butt. And then you have wires like this that just don't want to work with you. There we go, buddy. Get in there. There we go. All done. What's left to do in the car? What's shaking bacon? Hello, pleasure to meet you and the crew. Well, thank you for joining in, number one. And what's left on the car? Well, air suspension is next. We just finished the stereo system. We finished the dash. We finished the heater core. We finished the blender doors. We did a bunch of plastic welding. So believe it or not, I fixed all the doors. All the doors on this car are fixed. If you own a Mark IV with door panels, okay, they break. The little plastic tabs that hold the center armrest, all of them break. And I fixed them all. Guess what we did? We filmed all of it. So now you guys know how to fix your door panels like they were brand new. And I fixed all of them. The doors have never been this solid ever since I've owned this car. I am very proud of myself and very happy with the end results. So we fixed the doors. We fixed the heater core. We fixed the blender doors. The dash has been repaired. We did a full stereo system. We fixed all the wiring in the car. We fixed the power wires all underneath the dash. We have now simplified all the wiring in the car for the stereo system and the main drivetrain. We upgraded wiring from standard 4 gauge to 0 gauge wiring. We also are now we built the false floor. We built the frame, we raised the trunk. Now we're doing air suspension, which we're wiring up everything that needs to be put in. And then we're gonna put the rest of it in afterwards. So there you go. Now you know what we've been doing. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. If you enjoy what I do, please, please, please like, subscribe, follow, hit the notification bell so you know when we get live. Just so you know, I'm doing this full time now. So you're going to be seeing a lot of PincheAls. All right? And we're posting every day. But new videos come on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So there'll be a new video tomorrow, just so you know. New drop. Don't yell at me. What's up, Tiny? Love you, buddy. All right. That heat shrink has shrunken. Cool beans. So now that's soldered in and it's in place. So now break down what we just finished. I cut my my relay wire shorter and we soldered it in place. Okay. I still have to do my trigger wire. So this is my primary wire for the car. This is what's pretty much it's a hot wire. This wire is straight. I know, right, Tiny? They're super easy. So this red wire down here is just connected directly to the battery with the fuse on the end of it. This one connects to that. I don't know if you guys know how relay works, but it's pretty much a switch. It's a on and off switch. That yellow, that wire turns on, sends power directly to the air compressor. Now, there's a 12-volt signal that comes from here. The pink one is the 12-volt signal. The black or the gray one here is the ground. This is a trigger wire. This will trigger, activate the ground, and send power to pretty much whatever accessory. Now, the problem is my air compressor, the pressure sensor has failed on it. So it will never turn the compressors off. It just stays on until it hits 1,000,000 PSI. We don't want that. I will do more than sub. I will share you in my Trades Unlimited Discord group. This is good content. I like it. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you enjoying that. So this little wire pretty much is dead. It no longer sees the information that comes from my manifold. And so what I had to do, I have to ground this wire to turn it on and off my manifold, because if not, it'll just stay on all the time. The way we're going to go around this thing, because I used to have a little switch that was on my center console that would turn on and off my bags. We're going to put a pressure switch. So when the tank, it's just a pressure sensor that sits inside your tank. When the tank hits 150 PSI, it's going to shut off or cut the ground, and then it'll turn off my tank. Very easy, old school way of doing bags. But I still have to wire it to the car because the manifold has to get power and ground and all that and whatnot. All right, so next step here is to solder this wire, because I shortened it by a lot. So this was one piece of it, and this is another piece of the wire. We don't need this wire anymore, it's too long. You'll see here, there's another power wire right here. We're gonna cut that, crimp it with a... AccuAir is gone, buddy. They went a long time ago. The reason why they actually went under, not because of airlift, because they couldn't fix their auto level system, and the auto level system was causing a lot of damage claims. So they booked it. AccuAir was amazing for its time, but had a lot of problems, and they did not want to fix a lot of their problems. From what I recall, I don't know if that's 100% correct, but from what I recall, that's what I remember, and that's what happened to them. But if someone really knows the exact story about AccuAir, I would like to know what happened to them, because they were a really good company. They offered a lot of cool stuff. Again, they were very, very ahead of their time. I know that all-in-one tank was amazing. I think that was their downfall. I think that was one of their biggest failures. All right, so this one's going to be a little different, because this copper wire is super stiff. If you guys can see this, like, this stuff is like solid copper. So what we have to do, instead of like twisting it, because the other copper was really foldy and flexy, we're going to merge the two, and then we're going to solder them together. Now, one thing I got to keep in mind is, as I'm doing this, okay, I don't want to twist up my other cables and kind of wind them in together. I know it's kind of weird to say, but I don't want to twist them. Do you know anything about caster air? Jamie or used them in them? No, I've never heard of them, man. Nope. That name does not sound familiar at all. So you'll see here, I don't want these cables to twist, and I don't want them to get all mixed up in my stuff. So I have to make sure all this stuff is nice and straight, and they don't mix with other stuff. As long as they don't mix at the beginning, then we're good. And then what we're gonna do is that we kind of mash them together like this, and we kind of hold them like that. Now the biggest problem that we're gonna have is that this isn't a really tight, this isn't really a snug, and it's gonna want to come apart easily. If the cable doesn't move, get your tool ready. Get that nice and hot. And then we're just gonna heat it up like this. There's a really cool tool that has two little arms on it, little alligator clips. They're called helping hands. They're very convenient for soldering because they hold it for you while you can solder things in place. I don't have that. I work in really tight places, so that doesn't really well work for me. So we got our heat shrink over here. We're getting ready for the solder for this guy. Let's see if we're ready to put some solder on. And the way I test it is if this melts really quick or it takes too long. All right, cool. We're ready for solder. Now, again, like I was telling you guys earlier, you gotta be able to do this. I don't really miss all of that. I love doing it, so I miss it every day when I don't get to play with it. Now you're going to see the problem here, like I said earlier, because I can't put pressure on this cable, the solder just rolls right off and falls down. And this is the annoyance about this. That's why I don't like dealing with solder without putting pressure on the copper. Putting pressure on copper allows it to transfer the heat better,